What's up guys, my name is Benjy and welcome back to another FPL video. We are less than 24 hours away from the Game Week 1 deadline. And it's now time for my Game Week 1 team selection. Now this is going to be a series that's going to go throughout the whole season where I give you my thoughts on my own team, transfers, possible strategies, and just my perspective on the FPL landscape. If you do want to follow along, make sure you smash that subscribe button, and without further ado, thinking cap activated. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that there's still time for me to change my mind in some of the spots in this draft. So if you want to see my most updated draft, go follow me on any of my socials, as I'll be posting the fully 100% locked team on every platform before the weekly deadlines. And if you want to find the links to those socials, go ahead and look for my link tree, which is in the video description. And so let's begin. We've got 0.5 million in the bank, 3-4-3 setup, and let's start with the goalkeeper. So I've opted for Dean Henderson from Crystal Palace in net, and on the bench I've got Slicker from Ipswich Town. For Dean Henderson, I just like the Palace defense under Glasner, so I'm going to be going with him. And the only other 4.5 million goalkeeper I probably would consider is Flecken, and I don't think Brentford will keep a clean in the first 5, so I'm just going to avoid him. I did have David Raya before, but I just can't get there because of budget issues, and I have been tinkering with Raya in and out, and that could be a spot for change between now and the start of Game Week 1, but I doubt I'll go there. I think I'd probably attempt to stretch to Gabriel or Saliba in that case. But speaking of defenders, let's actually move into them now. So I've gone for Pedro Porro at the 5.5 million price point, who's starting alongside Trent Alexander-Arnold at 7 million and Lewis Hall at 5.5. Let's start with Trent, who's playing Ipswich Town away in Game Week 1. I think Trent should be fairly attacking, and not just in that game, but also in the first 5. Liverpool's fixtures look very appealing for both clean sheets and goals, so I'm just really excited to own the cheapest Trent we've seen in, 4, maybe 5 seasons. So yeah, Trent's in. I've also got Porro in there. He's looked very, very good in preseason, and, with Solanke joining Spurs, I do think he's going to start in Game Week 1, Solanke, but just having an in and around the box 9 instead of Richarlison, who likes to drop a little bit deeper to connect play. I just think having that in the box 9 who's good in crossing situations, I expect that to make Porro a better pick for attacking returns. And even though he's lost a bit of value in terms of the new updated bonus system, I just think he's just got too much goal threat for me. And with the fixtures under Postecoglou, he's in. He's just in for me. Lewis Hall starts alongside him, and this is where my risk appetite shows, okay? I'm being more risky in this position because I like that Newcastle fixture from both an attacking and a defensive perspective, which makes Hall super appealing for me. He's been very hot in preseason, and I'm getting on that Lewis Hall train, and I'm able to feel comfortable in doing that because I've selected Ezri Konsa at 4.5 and Howard Bellis at 4.0. Both two picks who are as nailed as you're going to get, really, for their respective clubs. And I don't know, if Hall just gets dropped in Game Week 2 for some reason, let's say Botman's back, I only just really need him for Game Week 1 because Howard Bellis can step in Game Week 2 and Konza can step in Game Week 3 when both of them have better fixtures. So it just allows me to hopefully save some transfers and get as close as I can to that optimal 5 transfers and wildcard. Moving on to the midfield now, I picked Bukayo Saka at 10 million, Bruno Fernandes at 8.5, and they're both starting alongside Crystal Palace's Eberechi Eze and Chelsea's Christopher Nkunku. I've picked Massimilio Luongo on the bench, who's 4.5 million, basically just to cover if any of my players, they don't play at all. Hopefully just 2 points and maybe even a return from him off the bench, but he's just bench fodder. Okay, anyways, let's start with Saka. 10 million. Very, very pricey considering some other Arsenal attackers offer good value like Martin Odegaard and Havertz. But it's just, for me, this is where I'm valuing Saka's availability record and the fact that he is on Arsenal penalties. And he has a decent record against Wolves. It's nothing too crazy, but the Wolves fixture looks good, and I think the fixture pattern overall suits him. Villa, then Brighton and Spurs. So matchup-wise, I think even if you look at matchup-wise, right, for the first 2 to 3 games, First two games, really two attacking fullbacks in the first three. And then you've got Udogi in game week 4, which is a bit tougher. But overall, I'm expecting just big things from Saka this season. And the thing with Soccer is going with him at 10 million, you know you're getting that availability record 90 minutes and stuff like that. So you can see I have zero point 0.5 in the bank. So even in the future, if I do want to try to get up to Cole Palmer at 10.5, it's much easier. And I can also save money by just going down to Phil Foden, or I could just switch him to Son. So it's a very flexible price point. And that's also if Palmer doesn't rise early, because if he scores crazy against City, he's going to be rising very, very, very quickly. So I just think it's very, very good from the flexibility and reliability point of view. And those are the key components that Saka really offers and brings to the table. And I'm just not sure any other midfield premium can offer that in game week 1 apart from Salah. I just don't think anybody else can offer it. So I'm going with him. And just on Salah, I think he's a great pick, man. I wish I could own him, and I think Salah no Haaland drafts have a lot of power, but the key to the Salah no Haaland draft, sorry, it's in game week 2, because you're gonna need to pick a captain who can match what Haaland matches, and if you don't, it'll be a long way up. So I've looked at having them both in, but it's just too detrimental to the entire squad balance, and the analytical community also seconds that point, because in terms of team structures, Haaland no Salah and Salah no Haaland, they're very close in terms of projected points, but Haaland and Salah drafts, they're just quite a distance away. So if you do have both, I'd recommend tinkering to see what you could build with just one. Next, it's Bruno Fernandes, who is predicted to score 6.3 points against Fulham. And again, similar to Saka, you get that reliability. Fernandes is going to play 90 minutes every week, and United's fixtures, they're acceptable for attacking investment, right? He's got an assist and a goal in that Community Shield game, but that goal was disallowed for a very tight offside. Overall, though, he looked quite good, and I'm hoping he can recreate something crazy like that opening day hat-trick against Leeds a while back, but I think I'm hoping for a bit too much. But some nice points would be good. That's the point. Like, I just want some nice points from Bruno, and he's an FPL beast, man. He's got the roots to points, got the pens, he's a talisman, 90 minutes, and he can do well even if United are doing poor. So you're just getting so much in Bruno as an FPL package. Moving on to Eberiche Eze now. Look, I'm 90% sure he's on Palace pens, and under Glasner, Palace have produced very solid attacking numbers, and with their opening fixtures, I just think some of the games hold strong potential value. Like, and for instance, I think, look, you think about West Ham in game week 2, Leicester in game week 4. Those are two matches I think Eze is going to do very well in, and both of them are at home, so it just makes sense to me to invest in a piece of Palace's attack, and a very good piece of Palace's attack. He's predicted to pick up 4.7 points in game week 1 against Brentford, which is that game's at the GTech Community. And there are three main concerns with Eze in my mind. And one, there is some small doubts around him as the penalty taker. Two, what's the impact of Elise leaving? Because the thing is, Eze's numbers when Elise was in the team was very strong. They actually used to return together in the same match quite a lot. So what's the impact of Elise leaving? I know Palace have brought in a new right winger, but Elise was very, very good, and he worked for Palace. So I think Eze is going to offer plenty of value. And third, is he ready for 90-90-90? Because he just came back from the Euros, and even though he wasn't playing every game, he was still training every game. Like, you have to, that's really tough about Euros. People don't understand that these guys, when the starting team plays a game, there's training the next day for the rest of the guys. Like, there's full team training for the rest of the guys. So he's been training still at a very, very competitive and high level for a long time now. So I'm not sure how Glasner will treat his minutes, but the fact I've still got him in my Game Week 1 team, it just speaks volumes about how much upside I think this guy has, because even if he's on the pitch for less time than a Brian Mbeumo at the same price, I'd still have that expectation for Eze to outscore Mbeumo just because Palace's attack is better. Eze's projected stats are better, and my gut feeling with Eberiche is just like, yes, Bruno, Saka, Eze. Like, that's where I want my midfield. So that's where my gut feeling really is. And the fourth player who's starting in game week 1 in my midfield is Christopher Nkunku. 6.5 million, it's just too cheap, man. This guy put up 20 GA in his last 2 Bundesliga seasons, and then he got injured. when he came to Chelsea for his first season. But I know Nkunku, I've followed him for a very long time, and he is what we like to call a GA machine. And that's what I've always known him as before he joined Chelsea. So I'm very happy to have him in this cheap. On the bench, I've selected Massimilio Luongo from Ipswich. And look, I've been tinkering with upgrading him to Morgan Rogers or Amad Diallo at 5 million, and I do value that point 0.5. That's the problem. I don't really want to upgrade him because to me, he's just a very, very cheap backup I'm throwing in there. I don't want to really be making transfers. So for flexibility purposes, Luongo is basically a protector for my starters in case something bad happens and I just need a player who's going to get me 2 points. But that's my midfield. Let's head over into the attack, and I'm sure you can tell who's my big man up front. It's Erling Haaland, 15 million, as well as Alexander Isak at 8.5, and my final midfield spot is taken up by Adam Armstrong, who cost 5.5 million. Haaland has been in for me since game launch, and if you know Thinking Cap, we've been on Haaland throughout the summer, and we've never gone to the cool side. We've never gone with Mo Salah, no Haaland. We've always been on the dark side, and more people have joined the dark side throughout preseason, but it's clear that this guy will bang in some game early on, and if you cap chat with your captain, you're going to be sitting in a very, very nice spot, especially where his ownership is at the start of this season compared to where it was last season. He's way lower, and because he's the hardest guy to move to during the season, he's 15 million. It's good to start with him because if you do want to sell him with a couple transfers in your pocket, you can, and then you can spread the funds elsewhere. When you have the latest picture, of course. But I just thought to myself that if I go without him and if I need to get to him because he's going crazy, it's either hits or I'm playing a suboptimal wildcard just for one player, which I wouldn't want to do that, would I? So Haaland's in for me, and he's next to Isak, 8.5, predicted 7.1 points against Southampton, and game week 1, he's a real captaincy option, and I'm sure you're wondering, where's your captaincy armband? I'm actually very excited to tell you that my Game Week 1 captaincy analysis is dropping very soon, so subscribe to the channel if you want to get instant access to that one when it's out. Thinking Cap is about, well, thinking captaincy, and that's our thing, so I definitely recommend watching that video when it's out because it's going to be so good. But back to Isak, he was the guy last season, and I'm expecting big things from him to start this Premier League campaign, so he's in. Why? It's the fixtures for me and the pens, and we know how good he is at home, and his home output is literally ridiculous. But yeah, let's move on to Adam Armstrong at 5.5 million. I've been a strong advocate for Armstrong, and because of my setup, I do have to start him in Game Week 1, which is not very ideal at all. I've been playing around with moving him to a Muniz or a Wood, but I want him long term. I think I'm just going to hedge with Hall and Armstrong and hope to come out on top, but Armstrong, he's a great pick, and Southampton will surprise a couple people this season, I am sure. He's the penalty taker, they've brought in some better players like Ben Brereton Diaz, Harwood Bellis, so as a collective unit, I do believe they've strengthened very well, and those fixtures post-Game Week 1, look, they look to hold some value, so he's in, and that's my completed team for Game Week 1, which is predicted 55.9 points for the first match day, and that's without the captaincy included. But you'll see very soon who we're going to be captaining for Game Week 1. Now, could this team change? Yes, it could. And the spots I'd say that could change are Armstrong, Hall, and maybe some midfield restructuring to get a 5.5 in the building. But BRUNO and Saka are relatively locked for me, and I'm locked on having Trent, Porro, and Erling Haaland in my team for the start of the season. And that's a wrap on my Game Week 1 team selection. If you took absolutely any insight out of this video at all, I would absolutely appreciate a like, and make sure you subscribe because my Game Week 1 captaincy analysis video is coming out very soon. So hit that subscribe button, activate your thinking cap, and if you want to get tons of FPL insights into preseason, go ahead and check out this one right here. Peace.